our very special guest, Jeremy Irons.
That must have been a different thing again, animated, doing a voice, and not having any idea what the sweep of that would end up being.
Yeah, it was extraordinary. I hadn't done an animated picture before, and I was working, I think, at Stratford doing Shakespeare, and they said, will I play this lion? And I thought, well, that's an interesting idea. And so, and the process is fascinating. I mean, I always imagined that they drew the pictures, and then the actors sort of stood there and tried to fit the words to what they'd drawn. But no, we met, I suppose, about 6 or 8 times all over the world over a period of about 2 years. And we would have there would be a storyboard, so you sort of see what was going to happen. And then you'd sit in the booth and you'd try lines, different lines, and the artist who drew the animal would be sitting there watching you and sketching you as you were recording and videoing you, so that they would try to get some of your quality into the actual animation, which I found very disturbing when I saw it finally, because he was such a mangy lion. You know, James Earl Jones was all big and rippling and wonderful, and I was this sort of awful, and I thought, oh dear, I must put on some weight and do something about my hair.
Alison Klayman.
Go any Mandarin. All right.
The interpreter's just freaked out right
yeah, I know.
now, too.
Oh, they're going in Mandarin. Where is Ai Weiwei right now?
Ai Weiwei is in Beijing right now, where he has been, you know, since he was detained last year, April 3rd, certainly since he was released June 22nd of 2011. There was a chance at one point that, and this isn't necessarily by his choice, he's been invited to many shows and have many engagements around the world since he's been released, but of course the government is still holding his passport. And we've really passed the date when they originally said they were going to give it back, which was a year from his release. So, you know, I don't know anyone who has good information about, you know, when we can expect that, you know, Weiwei included.
Wow, Tom.
Hell of a welcome.
Just another night in Madrid, huh? Wow.
That's one way to be welcomed, yeah.
I wonder if this audience knows that you have a prior history with this town in terms of having been on stage here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, Madrid is one of my favorite cities in the world because when I when I started acting, one of my very first jobs was with a theatre company called Chic Bai Jiao, and they're very well known in England, and they have long, for the last 25, 30 years, staged huge productions of old plays with usually very young companies of actors who are often at the beginning of their acting lives, and I joined the company in 2006 and did 2 productions, The Changeling by Thomas Middleton and Cymbeline by William Shakespeare. And we toured all the way around the world. We went to New York and Moscow and Reykjavik and Paris and Luxembourg and Almagro. We played Almagro. But my favorite part was it was a 6-month gig, and you rehearse it for 6 weeks, and then, you know, off we go. And it was just a group of us in our mid-20s. And both tours, we start rehearsing it on the first Monday of January, and the last date of the gig would be Madrid in July at Teatro Español. And the Spanish, I have to say, the interesting thing about touring was that you'd encounter so many different responses to the play, which were national. I've got to say, the English audiences were the worst. They were, like after touring, you'd come back to London, they'd be like, oh, come on, a bit more enthusiasm. It was, in Madrid, we had amazing responses. I
So
mean,
you
just
finished the tour
passion,
here?
you know?
In the movie, Wink says to Quevenchain's character, you're going to be the queen of the whole bathtub.
The king.
The king. It was translated as Queen La Reina, and the king, and it turns out to be true. So did you always know that right from the start?
That she was going to be the king?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was, we knew, I think I knew the ending early, you know, but I didn't know why the ending ended how it did. You know, I remember seeing kind of in my head her facing down the aurochs, and I remember seeing her kind of leading the community through the water, you know, into the future. And then it took figuring out how does she become that hero? Like, what is that heroic deed? Was much harder to figure out, but I sort of knew that she was going to sort of take her place on the throne like that.
And our very special guest, Juan Antonio Bayona.
Ahora, con Lo Imposible, sigue siendo una película española, pero has llegado a trabajar en un mundo mucho más anglosajón, con dos actores muy conocidos, que son Ewan McGregor y Naomi Watts. ¿Cómo ha sido eso a nivel de cambio personal y qué tipo de cambio has tenido que hacer para adaptarte a esta situación?
Bueno, básicamente aprender más inglés. Realmente yo recuerdo el primer momento que me quedé a solas con ellos dos. Estábamos, realmente había conocido a Naomi Watts antes, pero a Juan lo conocí en ese momento. Estábamos en Nueva York, en un hotel, y íbamos a hacer una primera lectura de guión. Y vamos, el momento que yo me quedé solo en aquella habitación, con ellos dos mirándome, yo con un guión en inglés entre las piernas, yo me quería morir en ese momento. Dije, bueno, mi inglés es de 10 años, más o menos, tengo un nivel de niño de 10 años. A partir de aquí vamos a trabajar por mejorar no solo la película, sino también mi dominio del inglés.
What I think you've referred to very tellingly as the double event.
Yes.
And that's a fascinating description, but by that meaning that the content and the form are equally important. It's not just the tale being told, it's how the tale is told.
I think so, because people always say to me, if you've seen the opening, I get the other night, grown men say, I cried. Well, no story has happened. What I think, I can't totally analyze it, I wouldn't know, but I think it's because there's something in our DNA that goes back to the origins of theater, which is to make a shadow on the wall, make that little, what is it? The little rabbit shadow. You know, when you're a kid and the light's there, and that's the origin. Or playing with a little doll, we've all done that and go. So even if you're an adult, you know when you see that it's just cloth, sticks, but this huge elephant is walking down the stage, and we're not trying to hide it. We're not doing the magic where you don't see it. It's moving to people, and that is why it's as important as the story itself, because you can't, we've talked about making a movie of The Lion King, the theatrical. It's a trick. I mean, I don't exactly know, I have ideas, but it's not so easy because it is pure theater.
Our very special guest, Tori, Amos.
Well, when you tell a story in a song, you're doing it all with sonic architecture. When you tell a story on a stage, you have other elements you need to use.
Yes.
So are they telling you, Tori, you know, less is more?
Well, what I've had to, the journey on this has just been like nothing else for me. I welcome the notes that you get. You get notes. Everybody's noting you all the time. You get all these notes, and a note is a suggestion or an impression that they have. That's what they call it. Not necessarily a criticism, but a note is here is what I think this is missing. And what we've had to learn to do, the thespians and the music people, is to speak in a language that we can each understand. And that's become about energy, feeling. You know, when somebody says to you, you know, when she's singing that, the life is sucked off the stage. Is there something you can do with the music? And I think, yeah, I got that one. I know what I need to do. And so doing these workshops and working, yes, it's been a glorious nightmare. Nick has said it would be a glorious, he told me, he said, you want to do this? It's a glorious nightmare. But when it works, there's nothing like, it's magic. Because it's all the arts linked together, dance, the visuals, story, music. It's magic when it works.
Hey kid, I got a ride for you. They say your brain is a comic book tattoo and you'll never be it.